Hi guys, Corey and Jen here with you for Dr. Marketing Tips.
Hey guys.
And today we're going to share a little bit about the lost art of building relationships. And first, I want to go over a couple of considerations real quick. So, you know, we all know that people are super busy and they no longer take the time to get to know each other because, I mean, honestly, I know you're guilty of it too, Jen. It's just easier to email somebody or reach out on social media or what have you rather than go out and actually have that lunch or have that coffee with them.
Absolutely, Corey. I actually, there's a lot of demands on my schedule, like there are on most people these days, and you know, you're going to run out of time or you're going to run out of money at some point, and more and more because there's so much coming at us. It seems like that we'll retreat into our technology or the occasional Facebook post to see kind of what's going on in somebody's life more often than we will sit down at this point and have lunch or have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, it's just easier, but this is one of those instances where easier is not always better. So speaking of that, social media it connects, but it doesn't really connect. Like what we were just talking about, you can, you reach out to somebody on LinkedIn or what have you, but that doesn't mean that they're ready to hear what you have to say. And today we all have shorter attention spans, so it's even harder to make that time to have that coffee or reach out and physically, go to a referral partner's office or something like that. And one thing you got to remember is that people do business with people that they know and trust. So, if you are more connected to referral partners and vendors and things like that, they're more likely to help you out when you need it because they know and they trust you.
So let's talk about what's ahead. One is which relationships do you have time for? Like I said before, you're going to run out of time and you're going to run out of money. So, if we're talking about strictly marketing your medical practice, which relationships out there have the potential to help you bring in new business? So that's something to definitely consider when you are looking at where you're going to spend your time. Strengthening relationships through communications. There is something to be said about the ability to communicate, whether it's via email or social media, but there's something also to be said about communicating face to face and being able to literally stand out from the crowd.
So at the end of the presentation today, a couple of things that we hope to help you accomplish is we're going to give you a few ways that you can actually kind of be the host with the most, and a couple of ways that you can strengthen your existing relationships and even build a couple of new ones. So with that said, let's talk about choosing the right relationships because, as Jen mentioned, eventually you're going to run out of time and money. So it's a matter of picking and choosing. And so first, obviously, we want to talk about referral partners because they, more often than not, are some of the most important relationships for the success of your office. So always want to show them some love. Vendors as well, you want to pay close attention to them. And what we see sometimes is they can sometimes be forgotten about, especially around the holidays. So I think that is one of the best and the easiest times really to show your love for your referral partners and your vendors, definitely. And then obviously your patients, you want to build the right relationships with them and strengthen those relationships, whether that's birthday cards or appointment reminders, newsletters, things like that, just so you kind of stay top of mind. And then obviously your industry colleagues, which is anything from like networking groups and think tanks and things like that.
Corey, I'll add this too. When you're looking to choose the right relationships that'll help you market your medical practice, one thing that I've been successful at over the years, whether it's been intentional or unintentional, is to build a small group of like-minded individuals, and they may come from your referral partners and your vendors and your industry colleagues specifically, where you've got a small kind of sales team or marketing team that's external of your practice, but everybody's working towards the same goal, and so you can get a bigger bang for your buck on your relationship building if you are looking at individuals that might be out in your community that collectively you all are looking for the same kind of end results. You may be in different practices or different businesses, but you can build some rapport amongst those individuals, and then collectively you can go out there and build relationships, and those will just be the relationships that just keep giving.
Yeah, and sometimes some of the best ideas come from just having those conversations, just saying something out loud to an industry colleague or a referral partner or something like that might make you go, well, maybe that's not going to work, or this is a really good idea.
Well, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Sometimes it's about having a true conversation face to face. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you and I know we'll go to, an industry talk once in a while when we can get out of the office. And just sitting in the room and hearing the dialogue that's taking place from one group to another
Yeah, you pick up so
helps
much.
us every time we leave with a
Mm-hmm.
new relationship.
Definitely.
So let's talk about where to look when it comes to building and choosing the right relationships. You can look. It's really simple, but sometimes overlooked. Look at your internal reports. Look at who's referring business to you, or who is sending you leads. Take a look at networking events that may be going on in your individual community. Your local business journal or your local medical journal will be quick to have a listing of events and see what other people are attending. Take a look at your vendor list and take a look at associations and things like that. You can go to your respective association website, the what's it called, the Administrative Managers Group Association, the MGMA. Those
Mm-hmm.
type of associations are a great place for you to go and build relationships with other practice managers. And always take a look at social media. Not so much take a look at social media for the socializing aspect, but something like LinkedIn has a lot of different groups that are out there, and you can see from a national level and even a local level if there are like-minded individuals, and if they're meeting, that is something to definitely take a look at.
Yeah, definitely. And then just to touch on the social media, and I don't know how many of you guys are on Twitter or anything like that, but we have seen on our Twitter at Dr. Marketing Tips that some of the people that connect with us, they'll direct message us, or they'll just post something on our timeline, and we've established a couple of really good relationships that way as well, just from being there and being active.
I'll also put this one out there. Years ago, I hosted a networking group in my community, and we did it for over the course of a couple of years, and had several thousand businesses that came through it. And we were very successful in Meetup and using the Meetup groups to drive traffic to our event. And there were a lot of subgroups that started as a result. So I wouldn't discount Meetup as an opportunity for finding out what's going on in your community.
Yeah, there's definitely plenty of resources out there. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about strengthening some of those relationships. So as we talked about earlier, nothing beats face-to-face communication. Just being able to see that person that you're talking to, see their body language, how they're reacting to things. It could lead the conversation in an entirely different and perhaps better direction. And obviously, the face-to-face communication helps build rapport a lot quicker. Not saying that you can't do that through email or through social media or quickly at a networking event. But if you can actually set aside some of that time to just sit down, get to know them, and really build a relationship, you can find out what they need and how you can help them. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. So we're going to do for others before doing for yourself, because this is one of the things that will really kind of set you apart from everyone else that's out there and doing this.
I couldn't agree more, Corey. There's just something to be said about when you're at an event, and this is an art that you have to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's there just to pick up your business card and to find out about you. Everybody's there to talk about themselves, whether they admit it or not. And if you can develop the art of being in a room, being connected with an individual, not paying attention to everything else that's going around you, and making that person feel important, and then bringing them something of value, whether it's a lead or a recommendation or just a one-on-one conversation. It's an art that not everybody has. And if you can master that art, then it will help you in strengthening and building relationships for years to come.
Yeah, and it's not really about a lot of people. They go to those events and they think, short term, what can I do today to help me grow my business? But really, you can look at it from a long term perspective and say, well, what can I do today to help other people grow their business? And then you'll, kind of playing that long game, you'll see a greater return on investment from that more often than not, I would say.
So, being the connector or the facilitator, this reminds me of the book that Malcolm Gladwell wrote years ago, where he talks about the different types of people out there. And the people that are your rainmakers or your growth growth individuals, your salespeople within your organization, they're always listed as the connector or the facilitator. They're the people with a lot of relationships that can literally take one person's hand, walk them across the room, and help make a connection for that other person. And this goes back to the idea of doing for others before you do for yourself. I happen to be a facilitator and a connector, and I no longer take business cards to networking events. I go to networking events now specifically to help other people build relationships. And as we get into the part of this presentation that we discuss standing out from the crowd, you want to pander to your strengths. And if you are a connector or a facilitator, this is one of those areas that you'll always be very good to take to an event.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
All right, so let's talk about strengthening your relationship. As in everything else, communication is the key to everything. So whether it's face-to-face communication or telephone communication or email communication or social media or website, communication is the absolute key to building and strengthening relationships. And I will tell you, as somebody who hires other people, and this isn't a knock on the younger generation, but the best people that you can find are the ones that are young and hungry and knowledgeable of all the latest trends, plus they can communicate. Whether it's face-to-face communication or a younger person that's getting a fresh start that has a grasp of the written word. For whatever reason, we find as more and more as people are coming out of the educational system, communication seems to be something that they are not as well versed in. And so it's always a delight to find somebody who has the ability to communicate, because you know that they're going to build the types of relationships that are going to be long lasting for your business.
Oh yeah, we see that all the time, where let's say, especially in like admin areas of offices, it seems like, they are hired to do, let's say, 2 or 3 specific things, and they're really good at that. But they're, definitely afraid to pick up the phone, it seems like. And if they just had that one key communication skill, the office would run so much smoother.
Well, and absolutely. And I think that technology has made it easier to sit behind a computer.
Definitely.
And you and I see it every day, Corey, that text messaging has ruined the American language, the English language. And we're constantly communicating to, especially the people that work for us and the interns, that look, you got to have a full sentence, you got to have proper structure on your sentence, and you don't sit around and wait for someone to respond to your email, because we're all inundated. So you need to pick up the phone and follow up. So communication is the key, and teaching somebody strong communication skills is a necessity for being successful.
Yeah, that's a definite Dr. Marketing Tips pet peeve right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about standing out from the crowd. We touched on a few of these things earlier, but you really want to be different when you're out at these events, or when you're going to visit an office, or just in your day-to-day when you pick up the telephone or send your email. One of the things you can do is actually refer business to others, because they are going to look at you. They're going to put you on a pedestal, really, because you are the connector and the facilitator. You're helping them make their business better, and so they're more likely to want to thank you and go that extra mile for you. And again, building off of that connector and facilitator idea, bringing people together, whether that's in a small networking group, or just maybe the way that you can connect patients to one another if you have some type of a support group or something like that. It really does stand out. Becoming the expert in the area is huge too, because when you're the expert, obviously people want to come to you to get their questions answered, and that does nothing but it does 2 things. One, it might slow you down a little bit, but on the positive side, it's going to grow your business, because people are seeking you out. And becoming the leader is something that I think that some of us might be a little hesitant to do, but when you join organizations and you wind up becoming the leader, again, it just makes you that expert. It makes you that connector. It kind of puts you in that position of power to help people, and also to ultimately grow your practice.
Corey, when I saw this slide and it said stand up from the crowd, be different, the first thing I thought of are those individuals that at networking events, they'll wear like a name badge and it's got flashing lights on it or something, or they that they're wearing a loud shirt or something like that to be different, and that's not the advice that we're giving here at Dr. Marketing Tips. What we're talking about is going in and becoming an expert. Or I love what you were saying about bringing people together. The first thing I thought about was the practice that we met with a couple of weeks ago, and we said, look, why don't you just host some of these individuals that you're looking to build relationships in, and bring in a speaker, and instead of doing it at a large luncheon or something like that, just invite 10 practice managers or 5 practice managers into your office.
Yeah, small and intimate.
Small and intimate, and use that opportunity to build those relationships. And that just goes so much further than some Hawaiian shirt or loud name badge. So I'm glad that these are the bullet points, because I was a little nervous about what's going to show up on the screen.
Yeah, no, don't go out and buy a top hat. That's for sure.
No, not at all, not at all. So next is, this is one that I like. We all have a lot of events that we go to, but sometimes an event is a good thing. And if you're going to do it 110%. You got to be the hostess with the mostest. Events go a long way. Things like a patient appreciation event. We had years ago a cardiology group that I was working with, and they had never done anything at all for their patients. And it was around the holidays, and we said, well, why don't we just host kind of an open house patient appreciation for just your existing patients, and we'll have the docs come, and we put out some food, and that was about it. And must have had 100+ patients that showed up, and all they wanted to do was give accolades to their doctors and their surgeons. Patient appreciation events go a very long way. One that's often overlooked are vendor appreciation events. Your vendors are oftentimes underwriting the cost of a lot of your marketing efforts, and they are out there. We had talked earlier about the idea of building a team of individuals that are like-minded to do your marketing for you. Vendors often get overlooked. We're always, got our hand out, we're asking for help, but you got to consider them a partner, and once in a while you have to thank your partners for all the things that they bring to the table. And then always our winners are things like ribbon cuttings and grand openings and 1-year anniversary celebrations and 5-year anniversary celebrations. Any opportunity that you have to host a small event, which is typically not cost prohibitive, and it takes a little bit of time. You can always go to your vendors to help them offset the cost of food and things like that. But these are events that allow you to go out and say thank you to the community, say thank you to those individuals that you work with, and build relationships that you probably would not have a chance to build otherwise. And these are the people that attend your ribbon cuttings and your grand openings. Look, we don't have time to have lunch or have coffee or sit down for a 45-minute meeting with everybody out there. So if you host an event, you bring them all together at once and you give it a couple of hours, you could build that relationships, and then that way you don't have to sit down face to face every couple weeks with folks. You brought them in once for the event. Maybe you sit down one other time for the year. So it'll help you save money and time, which is what Dr. Marketing Tips is all about.
Yeah, and another quick thing too is, a lot of people when they see these appreciation events and things like that, they automatically think, well, that's going to be, it's going to be an after hours thing, and I can't get anybody there because it's 6 o'clock. And we worked with a digestive and liver practice, and they did a patient and on a separate weekend a vendor appreciation, and they would do like a breakfast once a month on like a Saturday, and it was from I think it was 9 to maybe 10:30 or so. And they would pack their office full of patients, and they'd have some small breakfast items. So it's might even be a little bit cheaper because you don't have to worry about bringing booze or anything like that. And you get all of the benefits, and you're not out till 8 or 9 o'clock at night worrying about getting the kids to bed and getting back to the office the next day as well.
That's a really good point, Corey. Really good point. So let's do a quick review of what we've talked about today. So first you want to determine which relationships that you have the time for, and you want to foster those relationships. We're going to run out of either time, or we're going to run out of money, and so you want to make sure that if you're running out of them, you run out of them at the same time. Same thing with relationship building. You want to focus on the ones that are going to be helpful to you. You want to use consistent, impactful communication to strengthen those relationships. You have to pay attention to how you're going to build these relationships, and then communication, just like in a good marriage, is the key to success. You want to stand out from the crowd. You want to be different. Different doesn't mean, like Corey said, putting a top hat on or a Hawaiian shirt. Different means being somebody that brings something to the table and helps other people or takes a leadership role or becomes an expert. And finally, you want to let others bring business to your practice. We didn't really talk about this throughout the presentation, but sometimes when it comes to building relationships, you have to put yourself out there just a little bit, and you have to let people know that you are looking to build business with your practice. You have to tell them what a good lead is for you. You have to share with them where you're struggling and where you might need some help. And it's all about good relationships. When people understand how they can help you, they will help you. It's just a matter of using that communication to build that relationship. And it's the type of relationship that will be there for the long haul, not for the short haul.
Yeah, they will especially help you out if you have helped them. So I think that's one of the key things to drive home as well. So with that said, that wraps it up for this week. And next week is the final part of the 9-part internet marketing course from Dr. Marketing Tips.
Yay!
We're going to do a medical marketing course recap and give you a couple of tips and resources that you can walk away with that are going to make a real tangible impact on your practice as soon as you implement them. So with that said, I want to thank you guys for hanging out, and we will talk to you next week.
Awesome. Have a great day, guys.
Bye, guys.